Welcome to Banana Split, episode 70, the first one with video.
If it works.
In the future. At some point, it'll be up there because we've got a phone sitting 100 metres away from us, so I'm hoping he's got a
It's not 100 metres.
Zoom on there somewhere.
100 metres? It's like 2.
I couldn't hit that with a rock. I'm that weak right now.
Yeah.
But
Well, we've got,
it is a Sunday in the middle of a long weekend. I've somehow managed to avoid getting booked so far. Knock on wood. I don't have any wood nearby, but...
Knock on wood.
So I'm Patrick, this is Jaden.
We've got here at Patrick's house, we've got the lovely green door, matching
The magic green door that
Yes.
never gets opened.
Patrick's...
No, I just threw this on, it's still covered in cat hair.
Yeah, it's good. That's good to look real nice for the first
Doing a little pop
video.
culture podcast. Matt's not here, God knows why. He's cool. I think he's just lazy. It's a long way to come from Penrith. But,
Yeah, I was only in Oran Park 3 hours ago.
Nice. And then you're going somewhere later on.
Yeah,
Got a thing.
got a thing.
Cool.
It seems I got a
Last
thing. I
up
haven't
things.
even mentioned a thing. But it's a safe assumption. I've usually got a thing.
I was just like 2:30? Like, I didn't really
Yeah, I was
care.
like, cool, as long as we're done before 5.
Yeah, and it ended up, that was a good time because I was running around getting my car fixed and eating nuggets and all sorts of important things like that. Seeing kids had to be done.
Yeah, I saw my niece yesterday. It was her 7th birthday, and somebody bought her like a Connect 4, but with balls that you got to shoot into it.
Ooh,
And
it's cool.
essentially, she played it maybe 3 times, and then
Is
it
it
was
like-
just the adults.
Are they air?
They're like ping
is it like-
pongs.
All right, because it reminds me of, and it's been a while since
But
I've been
they're
to
heavier.
Monkey Mania because they're all closed at the moment. But they've got these like air cannons that shoot out ping pong balls.
Nah, it's like, think of it as a micro version of like the Connect 4, but with the basketballs.
I've only seen like old school Connect 4 where you just drop them. I'd be missing out, clearly. How's the VR going?
Good. Played it yesterday.
Because I saw a recent sale at EB Games where it's like $100 off the PlayStation VR.
Oh no, yeah.
don't know if
Well, I've
that's-
got Oculus Quest, so
That's go
I
all the
can
way.
do that now, and the audience can see it. It's great.
Jerk off motion
Yeah.
included.
No. Hey,
Winning. What?
hey. Family friendly. Rolling the dice.
Because that's what you're doing when you buy a Sony. Because you just never know
Rolling
what
the
kind
dice
of,
if it works or not.
Untested tech. Who knows?
Shout out to his PlayStation 4 right over there.
Which is a nice segue to the PS5. They were doing some kind of launch on, I think it was June the 4th. That got postponed because of the entire world being on fire. And
Well, not-
right now,
not
I
literal
think
fire,
it's a
but-
lull.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a whole
No.
bunch of people got upset because some guy went and got himself killed by a cop for being the wrong colour.
Okay, that's where I leave you.
No, he was unfortunately murdered by the police, one in particular, and the others were charged with accessory because they just stood there and let it happen. Which, to be fair, they were being trained by him and like a few days out of the academy. But still, you shouldn't need to put your neck on some...
Your knee on someone's neck.
for what was it, like a minute, and being told that the guy can't breathe, whatever he's. And I see all these memes posted by idiots in conservative groups, like, "Oh, look at the truth," and they list his criminal record as if it's got any bearing on the matter whatsoever. Whatever he's done in the past doesn't justify this cop to be a judge, jury, and executioner. And obviously, a lot of people feel the same way and started protesting and. Some of those protesters got a bit out of hand, which again is a controversial thing to say. Like, I personally am not a big fan of looters who just use a protest as an excuse to get violent. And there's been a lot of conspiracy theories which may or may not be true. Like, I'm leaning towards they probably are true, where extremist right-wing white groups, like white power groups, are getting in there because who can tell, once they're all wearing masks and doing a lot of the damage.
Speaking
And-
of masks,
Yep.
Anonymous,
Yeah, they've caused some havoc.
they've come back.
They were like getting on the police scanners and just
Yeah.
like blasting music.
Fuck the
and-
police coming
That's
straight
right.
from the... And
Not
we've
just-
been taken down from YouTube for the first time in our first video.
Not just any music, but yeah, good old
They
Public Enemy.
released a few things on Trump and Epstein.
Yep. Was that about the 13-year-old girl?
That was about the several
Right.
preteens.
Because I just watched that Epstein documentary on Netflix, which they must have started shooting just before he got recharged. Because it was good. Like the last episode, it's really meaty. Like they're turning up at court and it's all happening. And then obviously when he kills himself, air quotes, it gets pretty crazy. And then they actually trot out like the independent autopsy guy that's done it for 50 years and pulled out a hyoid bone, which is the one that got cracked in 3 places, and was like, yeah, in all my time, I've never seen anyone that's committed suicide, where they're leaning forward from the bed, have these bones broken that way. It's always been a strangulation that's done that damage. So,
yeah,
knew too many people. And Clinton blatantly lying, like, oh no, I never went to the island. Flight logs 26 times. Several witnesses putting him in that location.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, apparently, like, if you read all the court documents, which I have,
of course,
because I was like, well, I got to read this. I mean, that's apparently what Russia has on Trump.
Oh, you're talking about the recent anonymous exposed documents, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought I'd seen 1 or 2 of those before on Reddit at some point. Like, there'd already been rumours that...
And then there was like 26 pages of it.
Right, okay. I obviously didn't read all that. Yeah, it just seems like part of the bigger push by Anonymous to expose all these people. And they've got nothing to hide. And as long as they can confirm this is what someone's saying, it's not just something that someone's bashed away on a keyboard.
Well, there's been a few people on Twitter who like work in court, and they're like, we can confirm these are official court documents.
It's not saying this 100% happened. It's saying a girl here and a girl there and a girl over there have alleged that
you clearly haven't read these court documents. It's just like Donald Trump paid this family $5 million, and there's like $50 million worth of settlement money on all these court documents.
Right, so it's getting a bit Michael Jackson-y. Because Epstein's
listed on all of it as well.
Yeah, well, according to the documentary, all the lawyers for the victims hadn't got any money yet. Like, they were pushing to start the case, and they were deposing him, but he hadn't actually paid out yet. So, and he moved all his money a few days before committing suicide into his brother's estate. Like, he made it really hard for anyone to get compensation. So I don't know who's paying all these families. You're saying it's Clinton.
I'm saying it's Trump.
I mean,
Hillary lost.
I know Clinton's. I know Clinton's had to make a few settlements with various ex-employees over time, but not, as far as I know, any underage girls. I don't know if he paid her. He just kind of got her to be quiet, but not for long enough. Still got impeached, and then just went straight back to work. I don't know. I guess we'll see what comes out of that, because so far it's all just...
because it was definitely in a really weird time to do it.
Yeah.
Where no one's talking about it or reading into it much. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time for the Epstein ball to get rolling as well, so we'll see what happens.
But then again, you can do no wrong when you just go up to a church and you just hold a Bible with like 15 cops surrounding you.
That just tear-gassed a bunch of peaceful protesters for standing there.
Man, the dust that's on this thing, and it's still in the wrap. I bought you this thing for Christmas.
Was that Christmas a year ago?
Yes,
or the year before that?
A year before that.
I got to be honest, I'm not much of a cook.
That's why I bought you it, because I'm like... Now he can maybe cook.
Yeah. All right. You might have shamed me into doing something with this.
Yeah, because I've got the video of it.
Oh, boy. You have to buy ingredients and measure things and have, like, cooking utensils. You can't just put it in the microwave and pierce it in 4 places.
How old are you?
41. You ask, I'm going to tell. Yeah,
almost double me.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. It's almost creepy. No Kevin Spacey shenanigans going on here, put it that way. I think he'd kick my ass. Like, I think if it was a fight to the death, which reminds me of the last episode of Rick and Morty, because he says, I always thought I could take you, or I always knew I could beat you in a fight to the death. And his friends just like, then you were a bad friend.
Yeah, I would always wonder what would happen if we fought to the death.
That's right. He's like, then you're a shitty friend. Mm. But yeah, you'd probably just use some Spider-Man moves.
My favourite thing is I winked at the camera when you said nothing Kevin Spacey got on here, and I just went...
Speaking of settlements... It's all been under a non-disclosure agreement somewhere.
Yeah.
I got to stop tapping.
That's what I was thinking as well, because I keep seeing it flag up.
Yeah, I just noticed that. That's why it's good to wear headphones too, but maybe not. If we're on camera, this might be a better look.
Yeah.
We've
got audio technicians, as well as when Matt does come back, I'm thinking, how's the box going to react with this?
That's not going to work unless you have it.
I
don't want a camera up here, because then you'd be like, oh, has he got any hair left? It's all just at the front.
That's fine. It's fine. I can make up for us. It's fine.
No, I'm going to have to go the full Bruce Willis at one point.
Yeah.
Some point.
I mean, go to the Costanza for a little while. I'd do it. It'd be funny. Then again, I do a lot.
Maybe for a day. I don't know if I go outside I'd do it like for a TikTok video or something. Not that I have TikTok, because that's problematic. Though I was forced to spend an hour this morning watching it with the kid, because that's his morning routine. And wow, it can get sweary on there.
Yeah, you can get a lot of things on there.
Nothing pornographic, thankfully, though there is a whole subreddit for that, TikTok like porn. Thankfully, it was all just bad dancing and lip syncing. But yeah, there was some sweariness going on, so
It's
I had to
TikTok.
quickly swipe to the next one. They're kind of strict on anything that's like bi-friendly. They clamp down on anything that's like bi-friendly, talks about free speech, or criticizes the Chinese government. That's when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. There's definitely a video that I've made that I went, you know what, this should be on an alternative account because this is a really fucked up joke, which I'll show you later. There's no way I'm releasing this. It's a
Just
really
inbox me, I'll
dark
send
joke.
it to you somehow. I'll tell you, it's never going to be that bad. Come on. What's going on? There's lots of protesters, obviously, but they're not just the everyday 99%. You've got corporations stepping in, like I mentioned, Sony. You've got video game companies. You've got Sesame Street coming out and making public statements condemning police brutality and basically all sharing the sentiments that Black Lives do matter and that they're serious and not just talking the talk about this issue. Whether they're going to donate money to causes that make a difference or not, we'll see. I don't think you can put any shade on Sesame Street for it because they're always championing issues such as equality and
Letter of the
helping
day
kids.
is F for fuck off.
Cops. The entire cast of Brooklyn 99 pledged, I think it was $100,000 towards bailing people out. Chrissy Teigen first donated $100,000 in a tweet. Then someone called her out for it and said, "Oh, these people aren't just peaceful protesters; they're looting and causing all sorts of violence." And she retweeted, "Well, in that case, I'm upping it to $200,000 because it sounds like they need the money." So I kind of thought that was cute. But again, that comes back to ideally it'd be peaceful, but 99% of the time the cops make it very not peaceful.
Yeah, I think I saw an article today is like a man in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah, that was rough too. There's
Yeah.
no footage of him getting shot, but clearly he's been shot by a rubber bullet.
Yeah, like you can see
sitting
the
in
blood.
his face.
Yeah.
There was another woman. There's been a bunch of people actually.
The old
been
man
shot.
getting pushed over,
Yep.
and then 53.
Yeah. Two of the policemen that pushed him over were first suspended, and I think they've both been charged now and booked for assault and battery. Their colleagues resigned in protest at this treatment,
Yeah,
and
fucked up it's
the
gotta
police
be.
chief was like, "Fuck them! I can fill those slots. They can resign from the entire department. They shouldn't be allowed to just resign from that duty. If they're going to quit a duty, then they should quit the entire force." Because there's no way you can justify what I saw in that video. Sure, they didn't mean to knock him over. They meant to just push him out of the way.
But he's
the guy's
75.
Apparently, he's a bit of a agitator. Like, he goes to a lot of protests and gets his arms up and all that. But that's his right. As an American, you're allowed that constitutional right to protest and the freedom of speech. It's not on him to somehow do some magical, like, Fred Astaire like sidestep from these cops. They should be the ones that basically skilled enough to get him out of the way without putting him in hospital.
Yeah.
But no, apparently that was too hard. And apparently rendering aid was too hard. They knocked him over. He's lying there, blood's pouring out. There's like 20 cops just walking over the top of him. And it just looks horrible. Like, you can see the blood just pumping out from his skull. Yeah, behind his ear or something. And eventually it looks like a National Guardsman runs over and starts helping out. So, and they've been really good so far. I've seen a lot of great footage of National Guardsmen laying down their shields or just generally standing aside and keeping the peace, but not going in and bashing up protesters. They're just kind of doing their job, and that's about it. They've got a lot more training and a lot more discipline, it seems, than the boys in blue. Fuck those guys. It's obviously, they're not all bad. A lot of people do say all cops are bastards. I don't think so. I think it's only about 99.5% that are bastards. I don't think it's all of them. So, don't...
Wait.
That's,
Are you implying that the majority is bastards?
yes, I think easily 90% plus are just no good.
No, we always...
That's a culture of barbarity and repression and fascistic...
Is that specifically American police officers or police officers in general?
I think in most Western countries there's been a general worsening of civil rights, and a general increase of police aggression. So I think, yeah, in most of the world, cops have generally gotten worse, depending on where you are, especially in urban areas. Maybe in a small town, they know everyone, there's a good community rapport. You get like Detroit, apparently the cops there have got a fairly good rapport. Like they were kneeling as well for a little while. Some of them then busted out the tear gas anyway. So obviously it's not all perfect. Some places are better than others. I don't think we're as bad as America. Like, we certainly have a problem with deaths in custody. There was a protest in Sydney yesterday that went awry at the end. I think most of it was fairly good, but then the cops cornered a whole bunch of people in Central Station and just let loose with pepper spray. Like, they physically trapped them in platform 25, 24, like that, just above those two platforms. There's a whole section there, and they just corralled them and nowhere to go, just started spraying pepper and mace. Clearly there's an issue there with training and the culture. They're not all out to help, protect and serve. They're just punishing people for standing up for what they believe in. So something's got to change there. And I think that's an ongoing, the price of that freedom is eternal vigilance. You've got to keep up that scrutiny. And then you never can just relax and go, oh, they're good now. We're fine. Let's relax. Got to be keeping an eye on that sort of behaviour. No one's exempt, basically, from that sort of transparency and scrutiny that's needed to make sure everyone's doing the right thing. And that's unfortunately in that position of power, unlike that old experiment with the students that became prisoners in gardens. Yeah. Anyone in a position of power is ultimately very vulnerable to leaning into that, to abusing that power. So, and clearly that's what's happening in a lot of cases here. And cops maybe aren't given enough training and support and just fall back on methods that they think are tried and true. And that's just straight up fear and violence in a lot of cases. They just fight fire with fire. If they're only dealing with shitbags all day and like constantly coming up against like guys that beat their wives and armed robbers and things like that, and that's their front line 90% of the time, after a while they might forget how to deal with people that aren't that extreme, and they just have the same tool. Like everything they see is a nail and all they have is a hammer. So there needs to be a bit more empathy, obviously, from all sides to understand get to the root of the issue and go from there. I'm not an expert on any of this, so I'm just obviously pulling this out my butt. But clearly, even if we can tell there's a problem, then things need to change. What that change is going to be, we'll see. It can't get much worse, you would think. No, again, knock on wood. Hopefully things start improving, because I know we did a little bit better than America, both in terms of the lockdown and the protest. As far as I know, there wasn't any.
I believe
there was one brick thrown at a police car last night. And I don't know if they're going to do any more protests. They're talking about something next week, but I think that's probably as bad as it'll get.
With the lockdown and the coronavirus, I believe New South Wales is at day 9 of no new cases.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad someone's keeping track.
And
I got a test myself only just a few days ago, and took about maybe 30 hours to get my results. Thankfully clear.
And that's when he goes, I've got it, and looks at me, and I just go, oh no.
Yeah. No, I'm not looking forward to doing that again. Hopefully I won't have to. There was 2 long ass... It was like... I've got a rough idea now what it's like to get mummified, where they put that hook up into your brain and pull it out through your nostril, because damn, it was like the legs on that tripod, and then it just gets shoved right up to the back of your skull, tickles it a little bit, pulls it out, blood starts pissing everywhere. Same thing with my throat, right down the back there. She wouldn't stop until I was basically physically gagging, and that was my test.
Yeah, boy, yeah, no.
I thought I had to go in and get a doctor's certificate because I was actually sick one day, and they were like, hey, we're doing these COVID tests if you want to grab one. And I'm like, sure, why not? What could go wrong? And yeah, I'm still glad I did it because I'd been curious, but not something you want to... I don't know how those guys do it. Apparently on Joe Rogan, because they do test people when they come in for, and he's doing 2 or 3 a day himself. It's not as invasive. They don't do the full swab thing. They just do it like a minor antibody type test.
That's definitely something. And there's one of the other states is at like 33 now days.
Right, without any... Yeah, so, what I wanted to look up before this is when cinemas are opening. As far as I know, because I'm sure I would have seen it, there's no hard date yet. Hoyts is talking about, we're coming. The one in the city is saying, like, get ready. Events is like, gear up, we're going to do this. hopefully in time for the release of Tenet, next Christopher Nolan film.
Oh, I thought...
Catch Wonder Woman, we'll catch Black Widow.
Does it star David Tennant?
No.
Oh.
He's going to be playing a serial killer in an upcoming film that I just heard a podcast about. This guy that basically buries all his victims in his apartment over like 20 years. He killed about, 40 dudes. He just picked them up in gay bars and no one missed him because they were homeless. Fascinating story. And I think...
Even the homeless are chic when they're...
Yeah. Homeless lives matter. Well, that's the thing. This dude was homeless that that was in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
So, his pants were halfway down. Wasn't looking too tip-top, but the bullet to the head didn't help.
Yeah, I feel like it's unnecessary.
Yeah. And there was, on a friend's wall, this other friend of his was like, oh, yeah, but what's the context? We don't know what happened, really. How did it go down?
How much damage... what can a man in a wheelchair do? Unless he's got Molotovs.
How do we know the rules weren't followed? What rules are there that require someone in a wheelchair?
Unless he's got a shotgun.
Yeah. So,
and even then, if he shoots the shotgun in the wheelchair, pretty certain he's just going to tip over.
It'll be like one of those Quentin Tarantino B movies where he's just... What's that? I'm remembering like a prostitute with... No, she's a stripper with a machine gun as a leg. Yeah. And I don't know how the recall on that...
No, I know what you're talking about. We've actually talked about this on the podcast before.
Brilliant movie.
Yeah, I think this was actually pretty early on of me being on the podcast too.
Yeah, before my time. My brain doesn't go back that far. So yeah, celebrities speaking out. John Boyega said basically, I don't give a fuck if this ends my career. Black Lives Matter, blah, blah, blah. And I tried to find an article because I don't want to be a dick and say how brave and what's that sarcastic thing people say? Stunning and brave. Because obviously it is important to speak out and he's always done that. He's always been on the front foot with these matters. He stood up for his co-stars when they were being, Mark Hamill's the same. But as a black man in England, he was at the forefront of the protest there and really leading the charge on social media as well and raising money and all that sort of thing. But at a glance, it is sort of hard to, as a cis white guy that doesn't really understand his struggle. On the surface of it, it's like, is saying racism bad that big a deal? Because I didn't know that could be a career-ending thing to say. Apparently, enough people are taking it seriously that directors, writers, J.J. Abrams, those sort of people are tweeting their support of him and saying, you've always got a job with me. No matter what happens, you'll be the first guy I want to hire. So that's great to see. But it's just, I did pull up this article and I'll have to get back into it at some point. Yeah, professional. We've got to have fun too. We don't want this to be too much hard work. We're not getting paid. This is free, remember? He refuses to soften it because a lot of people are calling him out for his use of curse words on social media. They're complaining that he's a role model for children and all this sort of thing, and that his language is divisive, and maybe he shouldn't be so harsh and and that he might be promoting hatred and all this sort of thing. And he's just like, fuck you. This is the way I feel. Seth Rogen was similar. Every single person that called him out or tried to call him out for supporting Black Lives Matter, he was just like, fuck off. You don't deserve to see my movies. It was hilarious. But this is what John said. This is my own personal account. I'm not here for the kids. I have parents, so no need to report to Disney. They are for business. Thanks. He's doubled down and doubled down again. He expressed in no uncertain terms what any racist who may have been among his fans and followers could do and where they could go. And I'm sure in very colourful language. And that's fine. That should not be a controversial stance. That's what confuses me. Why is that an issue? Obviously, a lot of right-wing nerdy fans are like, oh, you've got to stay apolitical. The whole thing, I don't know if you watched any of that Jordan documentary where he said it brought up the whole issue of him not supporting a black politician back in the day because he said on the bus jokingly that Republicans buy shoes too. So for a lot of celebrities, they try and stay out of all that stuff. These days, I think that's less common. Even pro basketballers tend to pick a side. Jordan was just famously didn't want a bar of any kind of...
Speaking of...
which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of his career, but as a person...
Celebrities in doing this whole thing during the Blackout Tuesday.
What's that?
Well, it was basically when everyone was posting just black screens onto Instagram.
Okay.
and pretty much everything, social media,
That's what
like
that
even
was.
SoundCloud shut down for a day.
Nice. Yeah. I know even Cartoon Network, was it? Or Nickelodeon?
Yeah,
Were like, we're taking, and I think it was the amount of time that it took to kill Floyd,
yeah.
like off the air. So,
I know
Shit's getting real.
Pornhub blacked out their home page.
wow.
Yeah.
Even I didn't notice that.
So yeah, Seth Rogen, he posted a Black Lives Matter thing,
Yeah.
and pretty much any other person who commented on it disagreeing, like all lives matter, this, that, or
Yeah.
the other, he
Well,
would
that's what-
basically tell them to fuck off.
That's what I was just saying.
Did you not?
I just did a whole rant about that.
No, you were talking about John Boyega.
Yeah, but then I mentioned Seth Rogen.
No.
I've done that myself though, to be fair. Like, you'll be saying something and I'm thinking of what to say next rather than listening.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's
you know,
good.
I can't give you too much shit. All right, so there's a bit of background here. He's never been quiet on racism before. Never forget that he was the target of white supremacist hatred from the moment he removed the helmet of his stormtrooper costume. They distorted his face and circulated memes to stoke fanboy backlash. And in the wake of that madness, he responded with a simple, "To whom it may concern, get used to it." This was before the movie was released. He was presumably contractually obliged as a representative of the franchise to modulate his public statements. But production has ceased, and obviously the world has more pressing concerns than whether a Star Wars rebel is offending folks with his language. None of what he said is wrong or false, or anything countless others haven't said many times, and in far more colourful terms. Like Samuel L. Jackson's a famous one too. He's always right out there with his stuff. So that's why I'm a little bit like, what's he doing that's so pushing it? And he's got statements of support from Guillermo del Toro, Jordan Peele, Charlie Brooker. This is what Black Mirror creator Charlie Brooker said. "I would crawl through a barrel of broken glass to have John Boyega even so much as glance at one of my scripts." That's pretty good. That's high praise. So I'd welcome if anyone hears this to have more input on what he's doing that is going to potentially ruin his career. I guess in this age of everyone trying to please everyone, it's sort of unusual for someone that famous to not care about what every single fan thinks. Like some actors do try and just stay out of it to not offend people. And so they just don't put their 2 cents in. But yeah, I don't think he's got any real concerns here in terms of getting work.
Was the mayor of Washington, D.C.? If you know what I'm about to go on about.
There's a lot more of stuff like having examples, talking about examples of actors that did speak out and then were blacklisted and didn't get a lot of work. So I could go on about that, but just look up just Google John Boyega on salon.com. There's a long article there. And now my phone's just gone silly. So sorry, you were saying.
The mayor of Washington, D.C., if
Yes,
you know what I'm about
he's
to talk about.
an inveterate troll, and I've never heard of him before this, but I'm really impressed with what he's done.
Yes, he 1600 Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, he changed the
Plaza.
name of where President Trump lives to Black Lives Matter.
Plaza.
It's just awesome. Instead of,
And now out the front of the church where Donald Trump had his little photo shoot,
yeah,
in giant yellow letters on the road reads Black Lives Matter.
like huge. You cannot miss it.
You can't miss it.
Just blocks of it. So yeah, no.
And
good
if
on
that
him.
isn't a power move,
yeah.
I don't know what is.
Also, Lego will no longer advertise police-related toys in support of Black Lives Matter, so that's pretty cool. There's a picture there on, I think it's consequenceofsound.net, of what are clearly not real Lego figures. They're like knockoffs, but still.
You
sure
leave
the
Mega
articles-
Blocks alone.
Yeah, it's Mega Bloks or something, because they're the ones that went and did all the Call of Duty figures, and I think they did Halo and a bunch of other franchises, so...
Leave Largo alone.
Yeah, it's like modular building systems with plastic 3D squares. I don't know.
Leave Mind Block alone.
Yeah. I think Bionicles, that's what's a Lego.
Oh,
thing.
Bionicles was the shit, though.
And speaking of cosplay, a Jurassic Park cosplay, he's got the little Jeep and everything. He's been arrested after impersonating the National Guard. The best thing about this, and I'd love to have been there and just seen a little clip of it, was he turned up, like parked his car, ran over to a formation of other National Guard, because apparently he used to be in the National Guard, so he should know better, and just joined the ranks, just formed up. He had his entire night vision goggle kit, a shovel. He had basically enough gear to wage a 6-month campaign. Like all the stuff you could possibly get as a National Guardsman. He had the loadout over the AR-15, he had the sidearm, everything. And that was apparently the problem. He was too good because all these guys were just told to bring one weapon and then whatever you'd need for the day. Like basically just your uniform, your helmet, and then they're going to hand out shields or something, I guess. But yeah, pretty quickly, everyone on either side of him was like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you ready to basically lay siege to Baghdad? Poor guy.
That's a choice.
But yeah, someone in Cosplay in Action basically knows the guy that keeps getting quoted and talked to on the news, Jack Ma. He's like this other cosplayer in that area, because I think that was in, I have to check where it was. I know it was in California. And it, like part of that cosplay community, people, they all know him. Apparently he's a bit of a nut job at risk of being sued from overseas. Nice enough guy, 31 years old. But yeah, we've got a guy like that over here that dresses like a SWAT dude that wears sneakers.
Yep.
I won't mention his name. This guy's name
He
is
also does a Jedi from time to time.
Gregory Wong. I mean, it's in the paper, so what can I say? Los Angeles Police Department. Yeah. So he got dropped by an Uber right across the street, then tried to get into formation with a unit of National Guards who were defending downtown LA. So his heart was in the right place, but he was spotted by real National Guardsmen right away and, reported him to the police who picked him up. You know, heart's in the right place. And even the police said, look, he wasn't going to hurt anyone. He's just an idiot. So, and that brings me to that whole other issue of, is it okay to wear cosplay to a protest? Is that a problematic thing to do?
Are we about to bring up Batman?
Well, he has been seen. There's been a couple of Jokers as well. I don't know what it is with all the DC Universe references.
Hang on, Peter.
Oh, can we just do one episode without that? But yeah, there was a Batman cosplayer that wandered around like a tear gas filled urban hellscape taking selfies and hashtagging himself, selfie time and all that sort of thing. But is it okay? I don't know. I like to think anything that brings attention to the cause could be a good thing. Like any publicity is good publicity. But I can see why there's 8, apparently, reasons not to do that. In a recent post in a new group, which I don't know if it'll pop up if I just...
Cosplay all-inclusive?
Yay!
Yeah,
that's the one.
That.
You got a bone to pick?
No, I don't have a bone to pick. I've got invited to that. I don't have a bone to pick at all.
That's what it's called. Cosplay Australia, all-inclusive. And it's just funny because last time I did the podcast, I did mention that I couldn't see...
Cosplay Australia.
Funnily enough, which is the group that... was the cause, or essentially...
The reason why this group exists.
Yeah, pretty much. There was at least 2 admins that are very firm on the fact that they didn't want anyone posting anything at all to do with Black Lives Matter. And one of them made a statement saying, a very clear post, we're all about... I mean, he's a person of colour himself, so there's at least 2 Asian dudes and an Asian girl that are admins. There's an old white dude that wears Nazi uniforms to conventions. That's also an admin. Yeah. He's, again, we kind of took over from him with cosplay competitions and things like that. And yeah,
wait, we took over from him?
Yeah. Like that's why we started doing Iron Fest.
We stole his stuff?
Pretty much. And and it's just funny seeing all these other people that I've never met bitching about these people and like how they're racist, which I think is going too far. Like I know I had beef with them for some unknown reason. Because we
stole their stuff.
No, well, with that guy, like I definitely have beef with him. That is for real. Like he's accused me of things which aren't true. He's said I was bullying someone, which is in no way the case. He just doesn't like me and was spreading shit. And he was threatening physical violence. He said if he saw me at Iron Fest, he would punch on. I walked right up to him. He didn't. He just looked away. So,
is it like when we were bullying Peter in Cosplay After Dark?
Huh. No, I mean, it wasn't even... You couldn't even argue that it was misinterpreted like ribbing or like taking the piss or breaking balls. It wasn't like I was doing that and he saw it and said, oh, he's making fun. No, it was just, there was nothing of that nature at all. I was just asking, hey, why can't I share articles in this group that one of the admins is also helping me run this website? So I was just kind of like, that's the only thing I can think of that might have been a bit pressury. I was like, hey, why can't I do this? Because, it's a legitimate social media platform where I should be able to post things that are related to the group, and this other person who is also an admin is helping me with this website where the articles are posted. It just didn't make sense to me that I couldn't post them. And I think that's where he's making the argument that I was bullying. Definitely a stretch, and that's where it all sort of came crashing down. And ironically, the article was about Black Panther and something to do with how it was a great call to arms for people of color and just an awesome, beautiful movie, and just all the reactions that it was having around the world in those communities. And he thought that was too political. He specifically said, I don't want that article in there because we're non-political, which I just, given that he wears SS uniforms and all the other stuff that he goes on about with gypsies and things, like he'll say that term, which is now apparently an unacceptable term, and that's fine. But for him, it's like...
Wait, what's an unacceptable term?
The word gypsy.
How is the word gypsy an unacceptable term?
Now it's a derogatory slur.
It's a people.
Yeah, no, apparently...
I know gypsies. I know gypsies who are like, I'm a gypsy.
Yeah, if you're gypsy, you can say it, apparently.
Okay, so no one else is allowed to call me a Jew?
Not like Cartman would. Not like, you bloody Jew. It's got to be... It's got to
be Jewish.
It's got to be... Yeah, I think Jewish is okay.
Jewish is okay, but Jew...
Yeah, you can't be like, it's your turn to get the round, and then you say no, and I'll be like, by the way, you're Jew. Yeah, that's not okay. But yeah, no, I think it's Romany is the accepted term. We learn and we learn.
There needs to be a monthly world meeting of just things that
basically kept posting how you can't talk about Black Lives Matter, and a whole bunch of people rage quit. At least, I don't know, 200 people left the group and started a new one. I just mentioned Cosplay Australia All Exclusive. I tried to get in on the bandwagon, or at least make that Cosplay in Action is open.
In support?
Yeah, we're just like, hey, if you want to post about it, don't assume that you can't. And then I had some bizarre comment in that thread like, oh, but you've deleted stuff before for not being cosplay related, which really confused me. And I even had other people come in and support my answer, which was like, when and how, because that's the last thing I would do. If it was... I remember some guy kept posting motivational videos, and he was clearly just ranting and using all these like really Tony Robbins style lines.
It's quite a large group.
Yeah, and I didn't understand how that was helping anyone, and it didn't really have any clear agenda or issue. It was just boring, and he was just carrying on. We couldn't have that.
Knowledge is how I got my Lamborghini.
Anyway, so I remember deleting that. Like, I almost remember every single thing I've deleted in that group. Like, other than that, it's basically...
me out 7 times. Yeah, it's weird.
It's usually just spam, or but it's never like, oh, that's too gay or whatever, which was what she was implying. Like, oh, there was an LGBT thing that you deleted. And I'm like, you've definitely got a different group in mind. Like, she thinks this is Cosplay Australia or something.
Pat likes to be on the correct side of the line.
Well, it's just, that's the reason why they went off and started that group, Cosplayers Australia, because I was too inclusive. I was letting people post almost anything. And when they came on board and tried to help out, I was like, cool, you guys can use the brakes a bit more, rein people in when they're going too far.
It went Cosplay Australia All Inclusive, broke out from Cosplay Australia, which broke out from Cosplay in Action.
No. Yeah, sort of. I think the easier way to put it is, I had a group about 10,000 members. I wanted a bit of help with it because the 2 or 3 admins that I did have helping were basically just shit posting memes and like happy to offend people. And I thought it went too far in that direction because I was losing a lot of cosplayers that were like, no, this group promotes basically racism and bullying and things like that. And I was like, yeah, we're maybe being a bit too like Jack Dorsey, which is where he's in his mind, he would want anyone to be able to post anything they want. And I think Twitter, that's something he deals with, where he's trying to have people rein that back in. Nudity's still fine, which is good. They still get accused of being like biased towards the left wing and that sort of thing. So, and I didn't want to go too far in any direction. I was just like, all right, maybe we should delete anything that's a bit too freaking over the top, like rape jokes and things like that. And so that's why I had that help come on board, and that because they were pretty gung-ho about being fiercely protective.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. But then I think someone posted something that was a bit too edgy. One of the admins was like, right, let's get rid of him, because we had a little admin group like chat page, and I said, wait, can we just? I like to give people a second chance. Can we give him a warning, and then go from there? And if he does it again, sure, do whatever you want. That's all I wanted to suggest. And then apparently a couple of months later, the same guy posted something else that went too far. I had seen it and not really registered that. Whatever, I was at work early in the morning. I think I might have liked the post, and that was enough for all these admins to just leave. Because they assumed that I would support it. Like they couldn't delete it. They couldn't get rid of the guy. Which isn't true at all. I would have been like, oh no, if they'd come to me and gone, no, fuck this guy, he's gone too far, and this is why, I would have been like, fair enough, that's too far, I'm open to discussion. But apparently I'm full of shit, and at least one of them blocked me and said they don't want anything to do with what I stand for. So, and years later, that's how petty I am. I still remember those words. And I'm just like, what do you mean? What does that even mean? So
Have you even met
people are
them?
cunts. A couple of times, and that's what broke my heart. One of them I used to know quite well and would help out with a lot of cosplay. Like we had this little thing called PopCon.
Oh,
We did in Parramatta.
I'm well aware of PopCon and the drama that was PopCon.
Well, it was interesting. Like, eventually it fizzled, but I think for a while we were having a bit of fun. Like, we never had a bad PopCon.
Yeah, I came.
And
to
one of the
PopCons.
guys that was one of the admins, I added him that way because I knew him from PopCon, and he was generally quite useful and helped out. Like, he had a little workshop and showed people how to do, armor and things like that. So, yeah, for at least a year or so, I knew him and had no issues. And it's funny, you get along and you think you know people, and then you have that sort of, it's like you're forming a band with someone, but you're not really hanging out and jamming all the time. You're trying to steer this ship in 4 different directions. And unless you're all on the same page and you're constantly communicating about this stuff, which clearly fell apart with that group, Cosplayers Australia, they weren't really in touch. One admin didn't want to contradict another admin, so they had a massive problem. And they've brought on a new one, Elizabeth, who has been on this podcast, to help them admin. So it's such a small, incestuous world. Like, everyone knows everyone. Yeah, she's the one who told me I'd been bullying a mutual friend, and I was like, that's what shocked me, that she said that this guy had accused me of that, and I was just like, oh. But anyway, she's helping them out. Hopefully she can steer it back in a more neutral, accepting direction, because now they've changed their tack. They've apologised and said you can post about Black Lives Matter.
I think it's too far at this point. I think that's
well, that's what everyone's saying in this new group. They're so excited about the new group that's all inclusive. They're like, nah, too late, fuck them. I've already left, it's done. The damage is done. I still think people should be given a chance to learn from their mistakes and show that they can change for the better.
Like, I wasn't even a member of Cosplay Australia, but I got invited to Cosplay Australia all inclusive, and I went, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
I haven't cosplayed in
it is kind of fun reading about drama, but I think a lot of people are a little too quick to sink the boot in. And as much as I enjoyed the Schadenfreude of watching that, it was just a little bit. I did kind of feel sorry for them as well. Like, I don't think any of them expected that fallout. I just hope it all works out for everyone in the end. And it is pretty silly. Like, as much as it's fun to talk about, it's not really that big a deal. Like, we're talking about a group on social media, so let's not get too carried away here. As much as I've spent time investing in building it to a degree, the one I run, I really don't do that much anymore. At least in Cosplayers Australia, I heard that they did have a mentor and that they were trying to be a bit more proactive. But clearly there was a massive misstep there with, let's not have any Black Lives Matter talk, because that is a political stance in itself. If you refuse to allow any discussion of civil rights and people that are being oppressed and victimized, then that itself is making a stance that is political. So you can't avoid it. You can't sit on the fence.
And if there's one thing we here at Banana Split like to do, it's not take a political stance. We're left.
Well, you're clearly an avowed communist, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm a bit more of I don't like the word centrist anymore. Apparently that's just like cover for being right-wing or a libertarian. I'm definitely not either of those things.
No, you're not right-wing.
No, but I like to think there's elements I like the fact that generally according to their principles, the right wing should be about free speech.
Yeah, you're a solid middle. That's why it was good
Yeah.
when we had Peter on, and we had the middle, the communist, and and Peter, the left.
Yeah, he was way left.
Peter couldn't. If Peter was so far left, he was almost right.
Yeah, no, he'd gone slightly left of Stalin, but, that's fine. His heart's definitely in the right place.
Exactly.
So I think that's all the news I could find in our little group.
Well,
there's
I
not
guess
much. It's a short one,
let's tune it to a positive.
relatively speaking.
Let's bring it a little bit more positive and talk about Rick and Morty.
Yeah, because we just had the last episode of that come down. Beautiful episode.
Yeah.
I think I waited. I didn't see it on release date.
Didn't you?
I
Because
like-
you posted about it.
Maybe I did.
You
I know
did.
the one before that I was a bit late on watching.
You definitely,
The
because
one
you
with the
posted
acid.
like it was. You made a post saying Rick and Morty just airs just as I've made dinner, perfect time.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like
Because
that.
to me, that's one of the sweetest little pleasures in life. It's being able to sit down with your mac and cheese, or whatever comfort food you've got, on your comfy chair, and
whatever
your big
pack
screen.
can make in a microwave.
Yep, whatever I can handle. Usually it's takeaway Taco Bell or something else, but
How good's Taco Bell?
it's pretty good.
Yeah. What do you get at Taco Bell?
I get that big crunchy.
Yeah, the crunch wrap thing.
Crunch
yeah,
wrap
yeah.
thing.
I get a crunch wrap, and I'll get
It's like a neat,
like the two tacos.
It's like a
as well.
taco that's been all that isn't going to fall
What do you
apart
like?
in your
Do you like
hand.
the chips? Because the chips are really.
The chips
good.
are pretty good.
The chips are really honestly like KFC level chips. Honestly, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'm not a huge chip guy. I tend to get the nachos more often, and they do
Yeah,
well.
I got the
with those.
nacho bowl with the guac and all that, and I went, this ain't bad.
Unfortunately, that was the last meal I had before I went into 4 or 5 days of not being able to eat due to pretty bad gastro. So I don't know if it was the Taco Bell, but yeah, it was.
I've had no bad Taco Bell.
I mean, that is a cliche, but that was the only time that's ever happened.
Well, yeah, normally it's you
and
just
I've eaten there a lot. So
normally you just shit yourself. You don't have shit. You're not constantly shitting yourself after Taco Bell.
yeah, it was not good. I think I must have just working in the job I'm in now. You got to really protect yourself because you're working around rubbish and things. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Morty.
Rick and Morty had a good time. It was surprisingly bittersweet though.
Yeah,
I knew I'd be sad at the end because it was the last one, but also because of the story. He has to choose, in essence, between both of his daughters, and one of them is cloned, one is his real daughter. Though it gets a bit confusing considering how many multiple dimensions they've been through.
Spoiler alert: he doesn't know which one's which.
Yeah. And there's, I think, what's an explosive device in both of them.
Yeah, I feel like it is
Though
that.
he's saying it's something else,
Yeah.
but it probably is a bomb. It's a bit, it's pretty
But
extreme.
that one, which one of them dies, and like,
Yeah.
is there a third daughter gonna come out?
Yeah. Well, it seems
I
with
could see him
he's-
do that.
He's basically immortal. Every time he dies, he just gets rebooted somewhere. Like there's a vat of Rick's. Rick Sanchez is just
But it's
waiting.
good because they definitely they brought back around Phoenix Person, which was something they had 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, I think that he was from the original season, and it was like he went to a wedding, and then Phoenix Person's though is now Phoenix.
No, it was Bird Person to now
Bird Person. Now it's PP.
No, yeah,
Bird Person was killed by his prospective groom, or
Wife.
sorry, bride.
Tracy,
Yeah, and she became like some kind of
because she was an
weird-
undercover police agent.
Yeah,
of
working for the Galactic
Empire, or whatever it is.
Yeah, bad guys. Sponsored by Wrangler, of course. Which was a really cute little. I don't know if
Really
they
good
actually
show.
got any permission from Wrangler to do that.
It would definitely be Galactic Empire because they had a Death Star joke the entire time. It's got to
Yeah,
be.
that was. I mean, even the name of the episode was a Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
So-
I do love how it's when he does kill herds. You made me go to a wedding. Oh, and you killed my best friend.
that too. Yeah, I think someone had to remind him of that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Morty was like, "Hey, you killed your friend."
Now the question being is when are we going to see Evil Morty now? That's a
pop up
character we
again?
haven't seen in a while.
Okay. Yeah, because didn't he pop up in the one where there was like a whole world of Mortys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took his eye patch off. He poked his
So
claws.
that's
at
there's
his
so
eye.
many levels to this show, and so many intricacies and convoluted plots that you could watch the entire run. I'm going to have to do it again.
Yeah.
Now that we've got another season to wait for.
I'm
So-
just annoyed that the Rick and Morty Into the Rickiverse, the VR game, isn't on the Oculus Quest.
No.
It's on the Rift,
I've heard they've done a lot of work in that
which
space.
means I have to get a better PC
Yep.
and then connect my Quest to that,
Oof.
which then turns it into a Rift. So,
Oh, okay.
the Quest can become a Rift, thankfully.
Right. All right, you just need to spend some money first.
I just need to get a better PC.
Yeah, and you are working, so
Yeah, which I will probably do soon. I could do it. I could do it now if I wanted to,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I can't justify. But then again, half year end of
You've got-
financial year sales coming.
yeah. All you have to do is upgrade your video cards and stuff. Surely.
I mean, I'm just gonna buy a whole gaming laptop so I can take it with me.
All right. Okay.
32 gigs of RAM, probably
Maybe a cooling pad.
2,200 probably is probably what I'll spend.
Yeah. I think that's my next big outlay for my son. Like I can't really do too much in my own life. That's going to make a big difference, but I can
Definitely
at least
improve
get him a
his.
cool gaming laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, though I think for now, having every single streaming service on a tablet with unlimited internet, and now he's got a little keypad for it.
Yeah, I think he's set for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus the PS
Does he like the draw?
account and the gold, like all the online gaming stuff.
Yeah.
But no PC. That's what I think. Ultimately, when he's older, he'll probably become some kind of monster PC gaming freak.
Yeah.
As much as that'll piss his mum off.
I mean, he might
So-
he might do what I do and get a job in tech. So
Yeah.
that might
That's where I'm pushing
hoping.
it.
Yeah, because like my
That's where the money
father
Yep.
he's like, my entire family's like cars. Me, I don't give a fuck about cars.
I love cars.
I was like obsessed with technology from like
Yeah.
the age of 8, so I should have known.
Yeah. Well, he sounds a lot like you in that way. Like I used to get him all the Hot Wheels, and obviously I'm still mad about cars, but he's clearly moved away from that, and now he's very much into gaming and geek culture and all that stuff. So yeah, if he can pick up any kind of coding skills, then he's good to go.
Like I had all the Hot Wheels. My dad built me like a garage and everything. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking like it was like a shopping center essentially,
Diorama.
parking lot, and he's like got all me like Woolies truck, JB Hi-Fi, Dick Smith, and
Yeah.
all semi trailers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where are they now?
They're still packed away in a box.
Damn, I would buy those off you. Especially a JB Hi-Fi truck. That's pretty cool. Never seen that.
It was JB or Dick Smith. It was
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of them. I think it was Dick Smith.
All right.
Yeah.
That would be even more cool now, considering that they've disappeared. Yeah, that's the weird and frustrating thing. Like I've been watching even a car spotting video this morning because my son loves watching anything with cars in it. The younger one turned into a riot video. Like they were walking around Beverly Hills, going, "Oh, check out that Lamborghini," and then suddenly protesters turned up and started breaking windows. So, and they're like, "Oh, all these shops that just reopened because the lockdown's ending are now closing because of the protests." So, just when we thought the world was getting back to normal. But it's a spasm. We'll get through it, and hopefully it will make a difference. There'll be systemic justice reform in America because it definitely needs it. We're not that great here. There's been way too many deaths in custody of Indigenous people, so there needs to be some more support for them. But America, just from all the reading I've done, and again, not an expert, but I've listened to a lot of podcasts on NPR about the criminal justice system and the way the courts are just stacked against anyone that doesn't have money. It's not just black people, it's also a class thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you
So-
right now, communism's better than ever, isn't it?
Yeah, no, well, social democracy. I'm
I'm not a communist.
I think the Norwegians
You'll
have
never know.
got the right approach there.
If I double wink, is that a double negative? If I went, I'm not a communist, wink, and then I winked again, like, is that double negative thing? Because I just want the audience to be confused on what my political stance is.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's like, I'm not a communist.
I think that goes all the way around again and
Yeah,
means you are a
exactly.
communist.
I just want the audience to be completely confused on where I stand
Yeah,
politically.
well, you've definitely confused me.
Excellent.
And on that note, I think that's all I can remember to talk about. I will keep you updated. As soon as I see any kind of post that, like, clears up the whole Winter Cinema coming back
Yeah.
issue, we'll share it. So, because that's the only
Speaking
thing I've got to look forward to
of-
in my pathetic life.
Things to look forward to when things reopening. 6 days, ladies and gentlemen. Going to be probably less. Hell, it's probably going to be open by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
But 6 days from here on till I get my gym back.
Wait, that's right. What was it, the 14th of June? Or something?
13th of June.
13th
It is
of
currently
June.
the
All right.
7th of June.
It's going to be packed. It's going to be like January the 1st. Everyone's just going to be in there pumping iron.
Yeah,
so.
that's when I'm just gonna go. You don't belong here. You don't. It should just. There should just be a list of people of like regulars. Like, all right, you're on the list. Go ahead.
Yeah. The gatekeeping will begin in earnest. Yeah, I might even lob in once or twice before I get bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
You came in there once and I was like, pick up these, dude, 20 of these. You're just like, I can't even lift these. Is this what you do? Yes.
I used to be strong. Having all this
It's
size
like, you're
doesn't mean everything.
deceptively strong. I go, yes.
Yeah. You're not kidding. That's what I mean about the whole, like, he's half my size, but he could probably bench press two of me. So, no one is being exploited here except you, the viewer and listener.
I do
So-
think we are opening a whole new world to viewers and, well, listeners now. Because
Yeah.
new media,
Or at least a whole new world of trolls
yeah.
that are going to tell us how bad this is. And
Yeah.
I will just roll around in it.
And I'll just be
So,
like, any publicity is good publicity. Hell,
Yeah.
we got shut on. We got reviews, and there was a bunch of people just going like, listen, there are a set group of people shitting on you for some reason. Just continue with it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wasn't going to stop me anyway. I like the sound of my own voice.
Yeah, it's all practice for me. Like, even if this is shit for the next 10 years, at some point after that 10,000 hours of practice, something's going to click.
Yeah, yeah. Now your neighbors are about to start
Yeah,
starting the yell. So this is a really good time to end it. Thank you for watching / listening.
Okay, what's that about dessert?
Yeah, enjoy your dessert
Get the fuck out.
and get the fuck out.